All right, gonna be winding up this stator with some 53 thousandths coated transformer wire. Um, so far, I've been doing some of it. I have 4 posts done just to try to get the hang of it, and I'm gonna show you how I try to keep everything tight on the post, how you have to manipulate it with your fingers and thumb here and there, and keep it tight at the same time. I recommend using a glove. It definitely takes a little bit of strength and wear and tear on your fingers. I think you're gonna be surprised. I started off with a clockwise rotation because that's the way it was wound from the factory. But I found out that by winding clockwise, that it's a little more difficult to get to the next post. So by winding counterclockwise, I can come off the post and go to the next one and continue my counterclockwise. It makes for a neater appearance. So when I took this apart, I had differences from 25 to 28 windings per post. I hear that that makes it dirty. I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer, but I spoke to some, and it can make it a little dirty, but nothing to be concerned about. The key importance is that you wind every post the same way. So if you start off clockwise, you have to continue clockwise. All right, so I got these 4 done. They look pretty good, not bad. This one a little rough, but it shouldn't alter anything. The rest of them look pretty good. And I'm going to show you how I go ahead and do the next post and how long it takes to actually do a decent wind on it. And by keeping the wire straight so you don't get a bulge on the inside in here. It's a little tricky, but not too bad. You want to try to keep it flat a little bit so nothing interferes with anything else. So here we go. I hope this works out. We're going to see. So I started my next one here, every third one, because it is a 3-phase for the later model Harleys. Oh, there we go. Old age makes a difference with this too. My joints are cracking and popping, and the first one is probably the hardest one because you want to get that flat down on the inside so it doesn't alter the second layer. Because what I ended up doing is one total wind all the way up and one total wind back down, which gave me 28 to 30 windings per post. So the first one's the most critical. I suggest using a glove because you ain't going to be able to pull that wire bare hand. You'll find out it's a lot harder than you think. So the first one you get in there, try to get it in as best as you can. It's going to be a little bit loose, but that's the nature of the beast because you don't want to pull this side of it down below where it mounts onto your case. So here we go with the next one. Don't be afraid to pull. And if you notice, I'm not winding the wire around the post by bringing the wire around it. I'm actually spinning the stator. I found that I can get a better wind by doing that. It stays to the post better than trying to wind it. And always clamp down as hard as you can with your thumb. Now, I know you might not be able to see this, but as I pull the wire around the post, it is curved a little bit. So what you want to do is take your thumb, put it in there, and pull the wire back the other way to straighten it out, and then put it in position and spin it around, just like that. This way you get it to sit nice and flat against the post. It does work. It's more work than you might think. I don't know if it's really worth it or not. This is something I thought I'd try. We'll see what happens in the long run. I'm only going to do the one post because it took me quite a bit of time to do the other four. It's not an easy task. So we'll see what happens. See, like, here's something that I've had a little difficulty with. I get a gap in between, and I've been trying to hold that down with my thumbnail while I bring the next one down around it. But for some reason, sometimes it just doesn't want to stay. And that's when you got to be careful to make sure that you get that down and bring the wire on top of it the next time around and keep it in its proper position. Because if you don't, it's just going to mess up the second winding as you're coming down from the top, if you know what I mean. And a lot has to do with the way you bring the wire around that actually lifts it off of that post. So you got to watch that too. That's why I spin the stator and not the wire, if you know what I mean. See how I stick my thumb in there and I play the wire to straighten it out so it sits somewhat flat on the post. So you just keep doing that until you can get a really good wind all the way up and down. This is going to be a long video for one post, I'm going to tell you right now. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be, because I try to keep the wire straight as it goes too. So every now and then you can see that I'm literally trying to adjust the wire and bend it a little bit to get it to sit flat on the post. I'm just trying to be neat and decent about it. Easier said than done. It's a lot more work than I thought it would be, like I said. If I run out of things to say, don't be surprised. So, not even sure if this is definitely going to work properly or not, but we'll see. Now, one thing I did do initially, I'm going to take a little break. I wound clockwise, like I said earlier, and it made it more difficult to transition to the next post. So I pulled it all back off, straightened it out, looked at the wire, make sure it was all right, and then decided to measure how much wire per post. Now I have roughly 28 to 30 windings per post. And when I took that wire back off of there and measured it, I was almost 8 feet in length per post. So now you take 8 feet per post, and you're going to have 6 posts per field. You have your Y1, Y2, Y3. That's 18 posts. Now you take 8 feet times 18 posts. What's that? 80 and 64. That's 144 feet. That's a lot of wire. So you better figure on what was that? 8 times 6, 48, a 50-foot spool per phase. There you go. Alright, break's over. Let's get back to this. I want to finish it up and show you how it comes out as I'm playing with it, trying to get it tight. Not sure if it's going to be worth trying to save this. This was the one that I had ruined that I was putting on a buddy of mine's. I broke the field with a bolt. Stupid me. And instead of throwing it away, I thought I'd just give it a shot and see if I could rewind it and somehow maybe take it to a alternator starter shop that does rewinding and see if they could test it for me. I have a rotor as well, magnetic rotor, so maybe we can make something to hook it up and see if we can get it to work. At least that way we can find out how many volts AC we're actually putting out, which is usually, I guess, around 40, 43, 44 volts AC at 2000 RPM. We'll see. So here we go. Alright, so I completed my up, and I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 up, and probably 14 down, which will give me 28 windings per field, which was, I thought, should have been the way it should have been for the whole thing when I took it apart. I was very surprised to find that some had 25, some had 26, some had 27, and some had 28. You would think that quality control would be a little bit better than that, but guess not. So believe it or not, actually going back down the post is actually harder than going up the post, because you need to put the wire back in the low spots of the other two mating. You know how they create a little canal like between the two wires? So you're basically following what you laid down the first time. See what I'm saying? I didn't think it was going to be this much work. I'll be honest with you. I easily have over an hour into this already, and I only on my 5th post. And this 125-foot spool of transformer wire definitely is not going to be enough at my calculations of 8 foot per post. Like I said, I'm going to need something more in the range of 150 feet. We'll see. We'll see how much I got left after I do 2 of them. That'll be the real decision maker there. It'd be easier to count what I have left than anything else, you know. So, but anyways, not too bad. It does wear out your fingers and forearms a little bit, because you want to try to keep it somewhat tight. But the most important thing is not damaging the coating on the wire. You do that and you're kind of screwed. And they have machines that do this. Imagine that. Okay, there's another post. Now coming down, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think I'm going to put in one more just to keep them even at 14 and 14. This way I know I did my best to keep the field clean as possible. So there you go. There's a post. I'll continue on, complete this phase, do the next phase and the third phase, and try to update you on how much time and labor I got into this thing. Never did one. This is the first one. We'll see how it turns out. Oh, by the way, see this piece of tape here? I just stuck it through here to hold it in the stator itself, but I labeled it 1S for phase 1 starting point. Once I get through with the last one and I bring the other end of that around, I will label that phase 1 ending point. So I have 1S for start and 1E for ending. So when I go to configure this in my Y pattern, I'll know which end to hook to which end and crimp it into the lead connector for the regulator. And that's it. I hope this helped you guys. And we'll see if it works once I get it completed. Thanks.